Buenos Dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it like two tortas on a bike, chasing down a paisita on Friday for that cheque. Now that's a bad habit. Bye. Orale, as you can tell by that thumbnail right there, we're about to get it in, man. We're going to speak some real talk. But before we do, let's hit that like and subscribe button. Put your notification bell on all, so that way you're directed in the dope direction of the dope content that I'm kicking all week long. And I highly appreciate all the support I've been getting. I'm getting a lot more, man. Thank you, man. It's highly appreciated on the highest tip, to the highest degree. Thank you, Raza, man. Thank you, everybody. Now, you know, that Goshen incident that took place a while back, you know, where a 16-year-old and her child were murdered, and several other members of the family were murdered. You know, I never got into too much detail with the case, you know, and people seem, you know, what something's up, something's, you know, national news, something's out there, everybody's talking about it, and then it kind of gets swept under the rug, it gets forgot about. But I ain't forgetting about anything where actually two children are murdered. You got to keep the pressure, man. Apply the pressure and keep the story going. So what's new in the story is one of the alleged persons to have done this crime, you know, was actually charged federally. You know, he was charged federally because he was caught in possession of firearms, and did get into a shootout with authorities when they went to go apprehend him. Now, the other individual will continue on with his state charges, but the individual I'm talking about, Angel Uriarte, has been charged federally. So that means he's going to catch his Fed case as well as a state case if he is found guilty of these crimes. Now, at the same time, that also means more than likely these Fed charges will overtake the state charges, meaning he'll have to go sit down in the Feds, do his Fed time first, and then double back and sit down in the state. Now, at the same time, that doesn't mean that they won't take a deal. His lawyer won't comprise a deal where they mesh all this time together, man, and he just sits down in the Feds. But at the same time, having never done Fed time, I can't tell you how that works. One thing I know for sure is once you're charged federally, that Donald Trump's everything. You know what I mean? And I second that motion. And that's just how that is. But this is not a laughing matter at all. You know, there was a young baby, a newborn, as well as a 16-year-old that were murdered in cold blood, execution style. You know, bodies found on the street. I mean, we've all seen the tapes. We've all seen, you know, the video surveillance, the ring camera footage, you know, of this heinous crime actually taking place and happening. And it was sickening. It's a scary thought to think, man, anyone could pop up at your spot, at your doorstep, and do this to your family, your whole family. Basically, these guys allegedly killed 4 generations of this family, all the way from the mother, the father, the son, to the daughter, and the newborn baby. 4 generations wiped out just like that. Now, from everything that I heard, this was more so a targeted event, meaning that there was one person in particular that they were after, and decided that if for no other reason, leave no witnesses. Now, when you go to a crime, if you've ever been in the game like that and you've done crime, then you understand that you leave no witnesses. You go in to do something, man, you handle your business. Now, when it comes to women and children, I myself, I've always been the one to shy away from that. Most gangsters will, just based on civilians usually are off limits. You know, they're not to be touched. But this was more of a Hatfield McCoy case. This was more 2 families, 2 sons actually, that hadn't been seen eye to eye for a long time. Basically, there had been guerra between these 2 families. There had been war between these 2 individuals. I mean, it was kind of an on-site thing. Now, the cool part about it is Angel Uriarte, the norteño that is accused, one of the norteños accused for these murders, happened to live only 1 block away from this individual, also known as shooter, Michael Perez. Now, Michael Perez, you know, from everything that I've heard, was about the business, was out there in Goshen representing the Sureños. Now, one thing about Tulare County, man, having had a lot of homeboys from Tulare County and done a lot of time with real guys from Tulare County, you know, there isn't a lot of Sureños. They have their own little pockets, their own little towns. But for the most part, the big cities like Porterville, Visalia, Tulare, you're not going to find a lot of Sureño activity. Those are more norteño strongholds. There's more northerners than anything else when it comes to gangs. And that's pretty much who holds it down in TC. In Tulare County, it's always been like that. They stay fitted and committed, old school Cholo style. Pretty much when you go to Tulare County, it's like a throwback county. You feel like you're really gang, like it's very gang orientated. That's just the way it is. It's always been like that in TC. And they represent pretty strong and get a lot of respect behind them walls. So for this to be a Sureño gang in Goshen kind of blew my mind because I never knew that Sureños functioned out there. I did know at one point in time there was someone of some status that did, function out there in Goshen, but it is what it is. So anyways, this guy, Angel Uriarte, living only a block away, has been caught up or had been caught up and did prior prison time for an attempted drive-by, or what they called a drive-by, on this exact family's home. According to what I've read, this guy, Martin Perez, aka Shooter, was actually implemented or implicated in doing a crime of a drive-by against Angel Uriarte's grandmother's home, and did, of course, get locked up behind that. And then Angel Uriarte, in return, retaliated because red rum retaliation is a must where I'm from, decided to double back and handle his business. So this is something that had been going on for several years. This is not something that just popped up. These two guys, didn't like each other and then bam, it just popped like that. This is something that there was a buildup and then a climax. Now, it became national news and very big because of the 16-year-old and her baby. Okay, it continues to be a big case because the children were involved. And at the same time, man, the implications of a cartel-style murder. Now, immediately when this crime happened, everybody was blaming everybody, man. There was a lot of people saying it had to be the cartel. There was a lot of people saying a drug deal gone bad. There was a lot of people saying, it was south on south or north on north. But at the end of the day, come to find out, man, that it was a simple north and south issue that escalated into a massacre. And it doesn't surprise me that it got to this point. What surprises me is that the individual, if they had status or if they were knowing the game, man, to execute this little baby and the mother of this baby, this child, they were both children, is way out of the norm, man. This vato had to be on some type of drugs, or his heart was pumping, adrenaline was going, and so he just decided to just let loose and kill off everything moving, roaches y todo. And that way of thinking, man, is not real gangster shit. That is not a way a real gang member, does it. Usually, man, anything that you're going to do, you don't just do at the spur of the moment. It's cold and it's calculated, and you handle your business. And you have contingency plans A, B, and C for whatever may take place. Now, these people were not the intended target. This guy Shooter, Martin Perez, was supposedly the intended target, was the individual that these two guys allegedly, or whoever did the shooting, were after. But just prior to this shooting taking place, this guy was already on parole. He ended up leaving right before the case happened, right before the shooting happened. He left about 3:30 a.m. And it was already being sought after. He already had warrants, so the police were already looking for him in something totally different, not knowing that this massacre was going to happen. I guess these two alleged gang members decided that if for no other reason they had enough, because this guy was out there making too much noise. I guess he was out there putting in work for the Sud or for whatever gang he was representing, and so they doubled back and went and did this crime. Okay, so looking for him, of course, he was considered an active Sureño. He was considered a representative of a certain gang that they didn't get along with. So they go in there and then things unfold. And of course, they kill all this whole family, Martin's family. Now, at the same time, a couple days later, Martin, I don't know if he already knew what time it was or he didn't. He gets caught up at the home of a girlfriend, where it's a trip because one of his girlfriends, one of his long-standing girlfriends, was actually killed in the shooting. His mother was killed. His girlfriend, his brother's son, which would be his nephew, and of course his granddaughter and his great grandson were actually killed. So it's a trip. But anyways, this guy, he gets caught up at another girlfriend's house and gets caught with a gun, a firearm, and of course a whole bunch of dope. They're saying 50 grams of whatever. And that's it. It's a wrap, So at the end of the day, you either have a family that's all dead, a couple individuals that are locked up, and now their family has to go through the motions. And of course, the intended target, man, is also incarcerated doing time. Now, this is a tragic story in it that nobody wins. At the end of the day, man, a lot of authorities, you took it amongst themselves to indicate, a deeper gang ties and to, go into prisons and arrest individuals who they thought had something to do with this. When quietly, as it's kept, at the end of the day, this was just two guys, one that had a problem with another guy and chose, to go to his home and do this. Anyone could see the writing on the walls. You know, when you get two rival gangs that are living in such close proximity, there's going to be a lot of pleito. There's going to be a lot of back and forth. There's going to be a lot of shit that goes down. And for these two guys, you know, I don't know if they were drinking, they were getting high, or whatever they were thinking, if this was planned out. You know, I don't want to put too much on their plate. It's still an ongoing case. But they allegedly decided to go get this guy who had just left. Now, imagine the way he's thinking, being sitting down in prison now with your whole family wiped out because of your actions or because of your gang membership. I've always thought, you know, that's fucked up. You know, you decide to be involved in the gangs. You decide to get jumped in a barrio. You decide to go out there and interact, man, and shoot back and forth or get at certain individuals some type of way. And then karma is supposed to catch up to you. But in this way, karma caught up to his whole family because of him. You could only wonder what's going through the mindset of this guy sitting down thinking about his whole family being cleaned off the slate because of him. And it's not their fault. That baby was an innocent child. That little girl was innocent. You know, having grown up around tios, fathers, and everybody who are gang members, she didn't even have a chance to get away from that. And that's the cool part about it, man. That's what made me reflect and think back, man, of was I putting my children in harm's way? You know, I told the story about, you know, other active gang members at the time when I was pushing, you know, pulling out a strap, putting it to me and my child as I was pushing my child in the stroller. And that made me feel like the worst father in America. That made me feel despicable towards myself, not towards them guys. I wanted to get them motherfuckers. But at the same time, you know, I put myself in that situation. I knew that block was hot. I knew that it was very active. I still chose to take my child out and walk to the Circle K. You know, when you're a gang member, you don't think about anyone else. You're only thinking about yourself. Or when you're in the game, period, it doesn't have to be necessarily a gang member. It could be anyone, a car thief, a fucking guy that likes to spray paint on bullshit. You're not thinking about anyone else's person or their property or their feelings or their family. And bad things can happen to people's families, man, because of the boca of someone else, because of your fucking big fat mouth, or because, you know, you choose to put it down on someone else's gente. You think they're not thinking about putting it down on yours? Now, from everything I've read and I've seen, and I've looked quite extensively into this case, just because I'm kind of aware, you know, of what's going on with this, you know, to see the years of static between these guys, you would think somebody would have got their family and moved the fuck up out of there. You know, I'm going to be totally honest with you, man. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, that's running away from the situation. That's puto shit. Kill each other. Yeah, but at the end of the day, who wins? You're not living. They're not living, man. The best thing to do is if you're living in close proximity, man, if you have the funds to fucking rearrange your life and get the fuck on, then why not do that? That could have possibly saved this family. Of course, this guy was moving and grooving so fast, you know, he got up out the way. He decided to go somewhere, and then his family died. Now, we don't know exactly what led up to this. We don't know if maybe there was some conflict, some words being said. Something had to set this in motion. You know, usually if you have beef with someone, it doesn't just happen like that. Hey, homie, hey, fuck this guy that's been living here for 6 years. I don't like him. Let's go kill his whole family. You know, it usually doesn't go down like that. Usually it's thought out, planned, or, you know, something happens prior to that minute to make you say, you know, fuck this puto, let's double back on him. You know, I've seen a lot of situations where everybody's chilling. It just is what it is. Okay, you know that vato lives down the street, but he ain't, hey, at the end of the day, Holmes, he ain't about nada. You know, he likes to do his little bullshit, talk his little shit, but at the end of the day, Holmes, no one cares. You know, let that vato do what he does. He's been doing it. You know what I mean? He says, I don't want to get told on. And then he comes by woofing that high power shit or disrespecting or even shooting. And then you have to go double back and do your thing, right? I don't believe, you know, the children were the intended target. I don't believe the mother that was sleeping in her bed were. You know, there was two active gang members in that household. You know, two brothers. One of them was there. I think his name was Eladio Paraz. And the other one, Martin Paraz, who was not there. I believe that these guys were the intended targets. Usually, you know, having been a norteño for so long, norteños aren't about killing children, man. Sureños aren't about killing children. It happens as a casualty of war. Sometimes a stray bullet will fly. But to actually mercilessly, you know, execute a newborn baby, a small baby, that's fucking the worst of the worst. You know, you might as well be a chirujo or a chomo. Dude. You're on that level. You're on that level of washed up. Now, this one guy, what's his name? Angel Uriarte, being charged federally, you know, I can only think that people already are watching his case. When he does ultimately get convicted, if he does get convicted, because you're innocent until proven guilty, man. Everything that I say about these guys, of course, is alleged. You know, it's all alleged, man. I can't speak no facts on the case because I don't know no facts on the case other than the background and the history. They're pretty much a wrap. It's pretty much washed up, especially because other bigger figures within the organization or a group or a gang got caught up in prison behind this situation. And that's what always happens. You know, the feds or any three alphabet letter organization decides to make it a point to find a reason to push up on anyone to try to get information. I mean, raiding these cells and fucking with guys who had nothing to do with it, you know, can only disrupt, you know, the continuity of what's going on in that facility. You know, when you fuck up what's going on in a facility, if business is being handled, if shit's, you know, being done behind the scenes, and something like a raid or someone gets snatched up behind what you did, you know, you're going to have issues and problems. You're going to have to answer for that. Even though ultimately at the end of the day, it's not really your fault. It doesn't matter. Someone will answer for it. And usually it's going to be the person on the bottom of the totem pole. Now, as far as this guy, Angel, his status, you know, he did do a little bit of time. You know, it is known that, you know, he was still functioning when he got out. You know, Goshen's not very big, but they have some heavy hitters, some real ones up out of Goshen. I ran into a couple that were absolutely off the hook and about the business, you know, but that's neither here nor there. That's there where it was. We'll leave it like that. I'm not going to mention their names, but I'll say this, and these are facts, gente. You know, child killers got nothing coming in prison. Okay? Those are the worst you could probably get. You know, I've never seen, to be honest with you, a child killer function on a general population yard for longer than 5 minutes, man. As soon as their filth is discovered, it's a wrap, man. Usually right from R&R, they're segregated, taken to either administrative segregation or protective housing unit or an SNY yard. They're not put on yards with, you know, active gang members or general population inmates, even non-active gang members that are just, you know, in good standings. This is a fact right here. Even in them SNY yards, even in them 50-50 or protective custody yards, man, you know, child killers are the bottom of the barrel. They're absolutely going to get taxed and smashed on. That's just how it is, man. I don't woof that bullshit, and I'm not going to speak no bullshit into reality or to existence. This is facts. This is what happens. If you have that on your resume, if you go in there and you've done anything brutal to a child, you will not make it. Doesn't matter what fucking yard you're on. You know, eventually someone's going to catch up to you. Period. Plain and simple is how it goes down. But again, man, the news is that this guy Angel has been charged federally. So it looks like he's going to go do a Fed case. Now, as far as this camarada, his homeboy, you know, he was a youngster, man. He was a youngster. Didn't even have a criminal record. Holmes only had a juvenile record. Was on the run, you know, for possession of firearms and drugs, but had not yet, you know, been to prison from what I'm hearing. I can't call it like an alcoholic, but did have a juvenile record. But YA babies, man, basically the same thing as prisoners, man. It's like a small, younger prison. It's actually more wild than prison. It's not as structured or political. And they go off, you know. So Goshen's a small town. It was only a matter of time before these guys got apprehended. Of course, they did get apprehended a while back. And it's not old news, man. It's news that's still ongoing, you know. But that's the background on it, man. This family was not the intended target. It was one guy and one guy only. But of course, he wasn't there. And so whoever did it decided to take the initiative to kill the whole family, man. That's an ugly look right there. You know, I've heard it before, and I think that's what scares a lot of gang members. In the back of their mind, they think about, am I going to get repercussions for the actions I do? You know, because a lot of people don't think when you're out there gang banging, you know what I mean, you get into it with someone, are they going to double back, man, and come get my whole family? You know, are they going to double back, man, and get my brother because of what I said? You know, in this case, everything that shooter, you know, Martin Paraz ever thought that could happen did. And it's an ugly look. Anyways, gente, that's pretty much it, man. One guy's going to be facing state charges. The other guy's facing state and federal charges. And Martin Perez is sitting down right now in prison because of being caught with 50 grams of meth, as well as some guns, and having to think about, you know, the demise of his home family because of the beef, the funk that he had with this one other guy. Just an ugly look, man. It's just a tragedy all the way around. But it's California living. It's what happens when you're living in Nevada and you're representing a gang, man. Real gang shit happens. In this case, real ugly shit happens. But it did. With that being said, I hope that you move smooth with a purpose. Get everything that you want coming. And remember, at the end of the day, it's all about the strive, the struggle, the struggle, the strive. And we're going to continue on, man. We have to protect our children, not kill them. We have to take care of our familias, not put them in danger. And that's just what it is. You know, with that being said, thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive and struggle and strive for what I truly believe in. And that's everyone coming together, man. You see, if gente were united and came together, man, bullshit and hard looks and mean mugs and shoulder shrugs would still have a baby living, man. That baby would probably be 1 year old right now. It's a damn fucking shame. Bang, bang.